All right, you degenerates, welcome to the deep dive. We're doing things a little differently today. This one's for the adults in the room. You're the ones who don't clutch their pearls at a little bit of strong language. You guys have hit us up with some pretty insane stuff about GameStop short selling and a whole lot of market fuckery. Looks like things are getting spicy again.
Yeah, it's a dumpster fire out there. And we're about to dive right in.
Let's cut the crap. We've got a user on RGME claiming 463 of the last 619 trading days with short volume above 50%. Expert, break this down for us. What the fuck does that even mean for like the average person out there?
Okay, so short volume, it basically tells us how much of the trading activity is coming from people betting against GME. So they're borrowing shares, selling them high, and hoping the price crashes so they can buy them back low and pocket the difference.
So like borrowing your friend's Lambo, selling it, and then hoping it gets totaled so you can buy the wreckage cheap and give it back?
Pretty much. Yeah, risky move, right? Now, seeing this much short volume consistently for over a year, it tells us there's a whole lot of people who think GME is going down.
Which is kind of wild considering GME's at $27.82 right now, down over 2% for the day. And we know it's been all over the place,
Yeah.
from like $9.95 to almost $65 in the past year. Why are these short sellers so obsessed with this stock? It's been years since the whole meme stock thing.
Well, that's the million-dollar question, you
Yeah.
know? That's what keeps this whole saga going. You've got the RGME and R Super Stonk crowd, those hardcore apes who are convinced that this constant shorting is proof of some massive market manipulation scheme to keep the price down.
Yeah, they think GME's going to the moon, right?
Yeah.
So is this good news or bad news for the apes? Does it, like, validate their theories, or is it just making their lives harder?
Um, it's kind of like a double-edged sword. On the one hand, seeing all the short selling, it just fuels their belief that someone is trying to screw them over. But on the other hand, it's a lot of pressure on the stock, constantly pushing it down. It's a constant tug of war between the believers and the doubters. And that's why GME is so volatile.
Well, buckle up, apes. It sounds like it's going to be a bumpy ride. Speaking of bumpy rides, let's talk about Kenny G, the maestro of the markets. Word on the street is he's trying to sell off another piece of his empire. What's the deal with that, expert? Is he getting cold feet or something?
It's definitely raising some eyebrows. Remember, he already sold a chunk of Citadel securities last year, and now he's looking to unload part of his hedge fund, too. Could be a sign of trouble. Or maybe he's just diversifying, getting his affairs in order.
Yeah, right. Diversifying.
Huh.
Those super stock folks are calling bullshit on that. They think he's looking for a sucker to take the bag before everything blows up.
Let's just say there's a healthy dose of skepticism around Kenny G's motives right now.
And to make things even more interesting, remember that whole thing where he was bashing Trump's policies back in 22? Well, guess who's back in the White House and probably feeling pretty pro-Wall Street?
That's right. Trump is likely to be cozying up to the finance world and the crypto bros, which makes Kenny G's past criticisms a little awkward to say the least. Could be a case of bad timing for the Citadel kingpin.
Yikes. Talk about shooting yourself in the foot. If I were Kenny G, I'd be sweating bullets right about now. Especially with Gary Gensler, the head honcho at the SEC, stepping down in January. Isn't that a huge win for all the Wall Street fat cats who hated Gensler's guts?
Well, Gensler was definitely a thorn in the side of the financial establishment, especially with his stance on crypto regulation. He was pushing for more oversight, more transparency, which didn't sit well with a lot of powerful people. With him gone and Trump likely to appoint a more Wall Street-friendly replacement, it's going to be interesting to see how things shake out.
Especially for GME. The apes were pretty pissed about that SEC rule that got rejected, the one that would have made the market a bit fairer.
You're talking about the regulation best execution rule. It would force brokers to find the absolute best price for their customers. Which sounds great in theory, but firms like Citadel argued it would stifle competition and actually hurt investors in the long run.
Which is total bullshit. They
Yeah.
just wanted to keep their shady practices going.
Well, whether you agree with Citadel's position or not, there's no question that the current system with less stringent regulations benefits them and other big players.
And with Gensler gone and Trump's crew likely to take over the SEC, those reforms are probably dead in the water. So what does this mean for GME? Are the apes fighting a losing battle against a rigged system?
It's too early to say, but it's clear that the landscape is shifting, and the apes are facing some powerful headwinds. They're going to need more than just memes and diamond hands if they want to come out on top.
Speaking of memes and diamond hands, some of these apes are getting a little too adventurous with their trading strategies. There was this post warning everyone about buying short-dated GME calls, which, even to an asshat like me, sounds risky as hell. Expert, break it down for us. What are these things and why should we be worried?
Think of options like bets on where the stock price is headed, A call option is basically you saying, I bet this stock is going up. Now, a short-dated call means you're betting it's going to go up fast, like within days or weeks, and that's where things get dicey with GME.
Because GME's stock price is like a goddamn roller coaster.
Exactly. It's incredibly volatile, which means the price of those options swings wildly too. And there's this thing called implied volatility, or IV, which basically measures how much the market expects the stock price to jump around.
So high IV means people are expecting some serious fireworks.
Right. And with GME, the IV is sky high right now, which makes those short-dated calls super expensive. It's like buying a lottery ticket for a hurricane. You might win big, but you're probably going to get screwed.
And if the stock doesn't go to the moon like they're hoping, those calls are basically worthless.
Exactly. You can lose everything you put in. And then there's the risk of an IV crush, where that implied volatility suddenly plummets. That can wipe out even profitable options trades in an instant. It's like the rug being pulled out from under you.
Sounds like a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
No wonder that post was warning people to stay the fuck away. These apes are already fighting an uphill battle with all the short selling and market manipulation bullshit. They don't need to be gambling away their money on risky options plays.
It's a valid concern. Those who've been in this game for a while know the buy, hold, DRS strategy is what got them this far.
Right, the holy trinity of GME. But hold up, expert. What the hell is DRS anyway? I keep seeing it everywhere, but I'm still clueless.
DRS stands for Direct Registration of Shares. Basically, it means taking your shares out of your brokerage account and putting them directly in your name with the company's transfer agent.
So it's like taking physical possession of your shares instead of letting some shady broker hold them for you.
That's a good way to put it. The apes believe that DRS is the key to exposing the true number of shares in existence. They're convinced there's massive naked short selling going on, which is basically selling shares you don't even have, and that's illegal as hell.
So the DRS crowd is trying to force these naked short sellers to show their hand.
Exactly. They believe that by DRSing their shares, they'll eventually squeeze those short sellers, triggering the legendary mother of all short squeezes, MOAS for short.
The MOS, the mythical event that will make all these GME diamond hands filthy rich. Is it just a pipe dream, or could it actually happen?
Whether or not MOAS is a realistic scenario is a debate for another time. But it's clear that the apes are putting their faith in DRS as their weapon of choice in this battle against the Wall Street establishment.
It's a David versus Goliath story, and I gotta admit, I'm kind of rooting for the underdog here. But let's cut the crap. Do you really think GME is going to the moon, or are these apes just setting themselves up for disappointment?
Making predictions is a fool's game, especially in this crazy market. But I can say that GME isn't just a meme stock anymore. The company is making moves, improving their online presence, diversifying into new areas like NFTs.
NFTs, huh? Those things are like the wild west of the internet.
They are indeed, but they also represent a massive opportunity, and GME is trying to capitalize on that. Now, whether it'll be enough to justify the sky-high expectations of the apes is another question entirely.
So there's a chance, however slim, the GME could actually take off.
There's always a chance. This whole situation is so unpredictable, so volatile, but that's what makes it so fascinating.
Right? Fascinating and terrifying at the same time. It's like watching a train wreck in slow motion. Like, it's going to be bad, but you can't look away.
I can see the analogy, but let's not forget the bigger picture here. The GME saga is just one symptom of a much larger problem.
You mean the whole fucked up state of the financial system? The market manipulation?
Yeah.
The lack of transparency? The fact that the whole damn thing seems rigged against the average person?
Precisely. And the apes, whether you agree with their methods or not, have managed to shine a light on these issues. They've started a conversation that needs to be had.
So what's the solution? Do we just burn it all down and start over?
That's probably not the most practical approach, but we need serious reforms. More transparency, more accountability for the bad actors.
And maybe a few less asshats running the show while we're at it.
I wouldn't disagree. But on a more individual level, we can all do our part by educating ourselves about the markets, understanding the risks, and making our voices heard. We can contact our elected officials, support organizations fighting for reform, and make sure we're not just blindly following the herd.
Knowledge is power, right? And speaking of knowledge, we've dropped a ton of it on our listeners today. We've talked about short-selling market manipulation, Kenny G's potential downfall, the rise of the apes, and the wild world of NFTs.
Quite the eclectic mix of topics.
We aim to please. But the main takeaway here is this. The GME saga is a microcosm of what's wrong with the financial system. It's a story about greed, power, and the little guy trying to fight back against a rigged system.
And it's a story that's far from over.
So buckle up, you degenerates, because this roller coaster is still going.
Mm-hmm.
And until next time, stay informed, stay vigilant, and most importantly, don't trust anyone. Especially not us.
Exactly.
Damn straight. We've given you the rundown on the GME saga, the players, the strategies, and, the potential outcomes. But at the end of the day, it's your money, your risk.
Do your own research. Don't just blindly follow what some random asshat on Reddit tells you to do.
And definitely don't take financial advice from two idiots on a podcast.
That should go without saying.
Look, we're just trying to give you the information you need to make informed decisions.
Yeah.
We're cutting through the bullshit, breaking down the complex stuff, and hopefully making you laugh along the way.
Yeah, we're not financial advisors. We're just two guys who are fascinated by this whole crazy world of finance, and we want to share that fascination with you.
But here's the thing, folks. The GME saga, as wild and entertaining as it is, it's just a small part of a much bigger picture.
It's a symptom of a system that's broken in a lot of ways.
A system that's rigged against the little guy.
Yeah.
A system that rewards greed and punishes those who don't play by the rules.
And it's a system that we need to change.
But how the hell do we do that? I mean, we're just two regular schmucks.
Right.
We're not politicians or billionaires or Wall Street hotshots.
True. But we're not powerless either. We have a voice and we have a choice. We can choose to educate ourselves, to understand how this system works, and to demand better.
We can contact our elected officials, support organizations that are fighting for reform, and, most importantly, we can talk to each other.
We need to have these conversations, to share our frustrations, to brainstorm solutions, and to hold those in power accountable.
Because if we don't do something, if we just sit back and accept the status quo, then nothing will ever change.
The GME apes, for all their craziness, have shown us that it's possible to challenge the system, to make noise, and to demand better.
They've exposed the cracks in the facade, the hypocrisy, the greed that drives so much of what happens in the financial world.
And whether or not they ultimately succeed in their quest for MOS, they've already made a significant impact.
They've woken people up, they've sparked a movement,
Yeah.
and they've shown us that we don't have to just accept the bullshit.
So what's the takeaway here?
The takeaway is this: don't be a passive observer. Be an active participant. Get informed, get involved, and get pissed off.
Because the only way things are going to change is if we demand it.
And that, my friends, is the end of this uncensored, no bullshit deep dive into the world of GME short selling and the fight for a fairer financial system.
We hope you enjoyed the ride.
Stay tuned for more deep dives into the topics that matter. The topics that make you think. The topics that make you say, what the fuck is going on here?
And until next time, stay curious, stay skeptical, and stay informed.
And remember, don't trust anyone, especially not us. Peace out, you glorious bastards.